Hello and welcome back. I'm Joseph Hoffman. Today we are reviewing half steps and whole steps and practicing all the pentascales we've learned so far. So let's come over to the piano to get started. Let's review what is a half step. A half step is two notes that have no note in between them. They're completely adjacent. For example, if we have this E here, what is a half step above E? The answer is F. What about if we started on F? What is a half step above F? The correct answer is F sharp. So it could be going from a white note to a white note, as in the case from E to F, but sometimes it's going from a white note to a black note, or it could be going from a black note to a white note. The important thing is that for a half step there can be no note in between. For example, C to D is not a half step because we have this C sharp in between. So let's practice finding some half steps. I'll place one note down and you find a half step above it. Point to the half step above this note. If you're pointing here, you're correct. Now point to a half step above this note. If you're pointing here, you're correct. Now let's do some half steps below. Find the half step below this note. If you're pointing here, you're correct. Now find a half step below this note. If you're pointing here, you're correct. Last one. Can you point to the half step below this E? If you're pointing here to E flat, you are correct. Now let's review what is a whole step. A whole step basically is the distance of two half steps. For example, C to D is a whole step. Another way to think about a whole step is you have to pass over exactly one note. So remember, from here to here would be a half step, and then from here to here is a half step, so you add those up, and from C to D makes a whole step. Once again, the trick is to always pass over one note to make a whole step. It could be a black or it could be a white. For example, let's find a whole step above E. We have to pass over F and go to F sharp. So from E to F sharp is a whole step. It can also be from a black to a black key. For example, if we start on F sharp, what is a whole step above F sharp? Well, we have to pass over G to go to G sharp. So F sharp to G sharp is a whole step. Now let's have you find some whole steps. I'll place a note and you point to the whole step above. Point to the whole step above A. If you're pointing to B here, you're correct. Now point to a whole step above B. If you're pointing here to C sharp, you're correct. Now, can you point to a whole step above C sharp? If you're pointing here to D sharp, you're correct. Now, can you point to a whole step above this note? If you're pointing right here to F, you are correct. Now let's find some whole steps below. Where's a whole step below A flat? If you're pointing here to G flat, you're correct. What is a whole step below E? If you're pointing here to D, you are correct. Now let's talk about the formula for building a major pentascale. A major pentascale, you'll recall, is made up of 5 notes. Do is the lowest note of the pentascale. And then Do steps up to Re, steps up to Mi. And Do to Re and Re to Mi are both whole steps. Then Mi to Fa is a half step, followed by Fa to So, which is another whole step. So basically, Do, Re, Mi, Fa, So are all whole steps except from Mi to Fa. Now let's try to apply that to finding pentascales on the piano. If we want to build a major pentascale on C, That means C is do. Then we need to go up a whole step, then another whole step, then we need a half step, and then finally another whole step. So you see that naturally all of the notes fall on white keys because since there's no black key here, we naturally have a half step already between mi and fa. But now if we want to put the pentascale starting on D with D as do, now you'll see we need a whole step from do to re, but then mi to fa, we need to move this note up to F sharp in order to create a whole step here, and then we have the half step where it belongs between F sharp and G on mi to fa. Now let's try some trickier ones. I'll place do and see if you can place your fingers on your piano touching the correct keys of the pentascale. For example, if I place this note here on A, can you touch all of the notes that make the A major pentascale? In a few moments, the correct answer will appear. These are the 5 notes of the A major pentascale. I've made the half step green to remind you where the half step is. The 3rd to 4th note, or mi to fa, is always the half step. Let's try another one. I'll show you do, and you try to touch on your own piano the keys that make the major pentascale. Let's try the E major pentascale. Here's the correct answer for E major. We have E, F sharp, G sharp, A, B. Let's try another one. Can you touch the keys of the F major pentascale? If you're touching these 5 notes, you're correct. Can you name them with me? F, G, A, B flat, C. Now recall that to turn any major pentascale into minor, the trick is to simply move the 3rd note, which is mi, down a half step to me. And you'll notice that now the half step is between the 2nd and the 3rd note, so I ought to make those the green color. So this would be the F minor pentascale. Let's practice finding another minor pentascale. Can you touch the notes that you would need for the E minor pentascale? If you're touching these 5 notes, you're correct. We have the half step here between the 2nd and 3rd note now. All the other steps are whole steps. Let's try one more. Can you find and touch the notes of the C minor pentascale? If you're touching these 5 notes, you're correct. C major would look like this. To turn it into minor, we simply needed to take the 3rd note in the scale and move it down a half step from E to E flat. Now we're going to review all the major and minor pentascales we've learned so far in our lessons. Starting with C major, we're going to do stepping and skipping in C major, then C minor, then go up to D major, D minor, E major, E minor, F, G, all the way up to A. Let's play through all of them together. Ready? Get in position for C major. We'll do stepping and skipping together. And remember that we're going to do the 1 chord, 5/7 chord, 1 chord for each position. Ready, go. Now C minor. Good, now move up to D major. Don't forget F sharp. Ready, go. Now D minor. Now let's move up to E major. Now we have an F sharp and a G sharp. Ready, go. Now E minor. come up to F major. Don't forget the B flat. Now F minor. Change A to A flat. Ready, go. Now we come to G major. All white keys, starting on G. Ready, go. Now G minor, finger 3 moves to B flat. Ready, go. Now A major, finger 3 on C sharp. Ready, go. Now we go to A minor. Ready, go. Great job working on all the major and minor pentascales we've learned so far. At home, I'd like you to practice them by playing a little game. You'll need a 6-sided die for this game, like this. You'll roll the die, and if you roll a 1, you'll do C major and minor. 2 would mean D major and minor. 3 is E, 4 is F, 5 is G, and 6 would be A. Try doing 3 different positions every day. From our website, you can download activity pages that will help you review half steps and whole steps and all the major minor pentascales even more. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Hey, I've got a good one for you. 3 notes, D, F, and A, walked into a bar, but the bartender said, "Sorry, you'll have to leave. We don't serve minors." That's good, but I don't know if the kids will get it, huh?